want to be under the bright lights. I want to be on the Broadway stage.
Tiger Rag Radio is on now.
Back here on Tiger Rag Radio as we continue on with the show. Jeff Palermo along with Glenn Gilbo and Todd Horn. Really a troubling story that came out on Friday involving former LSU wide receiver Kyren Lacy, who State Police put out the press release that he was wanted on several charges for his alleged role in a hit and run, according to State Police. Lacy was driving a 2023 Dodge Charger on Louisiana Highway 20 and recklessly passed multiple vehicles at a high rate of speed by crossing the center line and entering the northbound lane while in a designated no passing zone. This ended up resulting in a head-on crash with two other vehicles, and according to State Police, Lacy just drove around the crash and then fled without stopping to render any aid, call emergency services, or report his involvement in the crash. Herman Hall, a 78-year-old man, was killed in the wreck from Thibodaux, and according to Lacy's agent, Rocky Arsenault, in a statement, he says that Lacy is fully cooperating with the authorities. Lacy, of course, at LSU this past season, 58 catches for 866 yards and 9 touchdowns, and now is facing a charge of negligent homicide, felony hit and run with death, and reckless operation of a vehicle. Here to talk a little bit more about it from the legal perspective, it's Tim Meche. Tim, thanks a lot for joining us tonight. How you doing?
I'm doing okay, Jeff. Good to be here.
Well, what do you think about the report that State Police put out, and how bad does this look for Kyren Lacy?
It's not the end of the world for him. Obviously, it's a terrible thing that happened. Anybody dies, we don't like that to happen, and obviously our condolences should go out to the victims. But what didn't happen was he did not subject himself to any kind of field sobriety test. He wasn't subjected to any analysis of his blood or his urine or his breath. So there's no evidence that he was impaired in any way by taking any kind of substances. That makes this matter a lot worse under Louisiana law. But even whenever there's a death involved, there's always consequences that are more severe than if it had not been involved. If it had not been a death, we'd be dealing with a simple misdemeanor here. The death of the victim, that makes it a little bit more difficult. And it means that he's charged with criminal negligence, which in Louisiana law is something that's defined as doing something with disregard for what the law requires you to do. It's something that is not, it's something that's got to be proven by the witness's statements. And what's interesting and what we don't know is whether or not there's going to be any kind of video evidence of his actual activity in driving that vehicle, because that's where this case is going to stand or fall. As described in the police affidavit, he was passing several vehicles, which is not illegal, but there was some reference to it being in a non-passing lane. That does not automatically make it criminal negligence, but it is a factor. But a videotape of the actual driving of this car would be very helpful for us to understand it better, and I'm curious to know whether or not it exists.
How did they identify him according to the police report?
I'm sorry? Oh, that's an excellent question, because I wondered about that myself. They didn't say how. They just said, we determined that it was him driving it. And that's a factor. You know, just because it was his car doesn't mean he was driving it. So they have to have evidence. They have to prove that. I read carefully the statement issued by his agent, Mr. Arsenault, and he tiptoes around that. He didn't really admit he was driving, and that's something they have to prove. I don't know what evidence they have of that, but they did say they determined that to be the case.
Were you surprised a little bit, or did you wonder why there's been such a delay? I mean, it's that release came out on Friday. The accident happened on December 17th. Was that just the investigation, or why do you think that took so long?
Exactly, and that's typical in a case like this. If I can just say this, because if people are wondering whether or not he got preferential treatment because he was an LSU football player, no, that's not the case at all. When an accident happens like this, the state police has a process. They have to bring in accident reconstruction people. They have to analyze it. That's why whenever there's a fatality on Louisiana roads, we notice, if we ever be caught in that traffic, they shut down the whole interstate, and they shut down everything because they have to do a complete scientific analysis. There's a protocol for it. It takes some time. So the idea that this took, 4 weeks to get a warrant, that's not unusual. And it's not evidence that he got preferential treatment.
And let me ask you this. I thought that the release by the state police was very specific as to how the accident happened. And, this car swerved, this car hit this car. So that's what I was thinking. They spent a lot of time on the investigation, but what I was wondering was they were so specific. I'm wondering if one of the vehicles involved, not a police vehicle, had some kind of video, or if somebody ripped out their cell phone and got video of Lacy's Dodge Charger speeding away.
That's what I was wondering as well. And this case is going to be really interesting to see how it unfolds. The Louisiana State Police, and I had some experiences early in my career in a case like this, the state police, which of course has troops around the state, in each area, whether it be Troop A, Troop B, Troop C, they have a designated person who is their homicide, their fatality accident reconstruction person, and he has to be trained in that field, and eventually he may be called upon to take the stand as an expert witness and render his opinion about what happened as an expert. And those guys, and I had the opportunity to cross-examine one of them years ago in a real high-profile case where there was a fatality. And those guys earned their paycheck. They're really try to do good, but that's not a job that everybody at the state police wants, because it's very difficult. And in a high-profile case like this, they're really going to earn their money. And I'm curious to see how he's going to prove those things like you are without a videotape, whether he has one or not.
Hi, I'm Mike Munderland, and we're here to smash the capital city's trash.
Smash My Trash is a revolutionary compactor for large dumpsters, sometimes reducing the volume of waste by up to 70%. This means fewer hauls per month and big savings for your business. Fewer hauls and compacted waste will also result in a positive impact on our community and our environment by taking up less space in our local landfill sites. Schedule your company's free demo today. Call 225-497-0101.
Tim, what kind of penalties is he facing? And I mean, if it comes down to they prove that he was driving the vehicle, whether it's through video or through eyewitness accounts, and they build that case substantially, does he automatically get the severest penalty if he's guilty, or is there any leniency in that?
The penalty is up to 10 years in prison, and it's not automatic. He is eligible for probation. Yeah, assuming, and the key factor here is they have no evidence that substances or alcohol was involved. Whenever that happens, the price of poker goes way up, and he's subjected to mandatory imprisonment. Here, he's not. Nevertheless, because there is, and if it is proven that he was driving like a crazy person without regard for the safety of others, chances are a judge, especially when you got a victim who died and their family members, upstanding people, chances are he would go to jail for a little while in some type of capacity. But he could be possibly eligible for probation, depending on how the facts go.
Tim, let me ask you this. So what if he was drunk or driving impaired? So did he help his case by leaving in a way so he wouldn't be tested?
Yes, of course. Yeah, any lawyer would say, yeah, go. Don't stay there and get subject to being tested. And that may sound like something coarse to say, and in fact it is.
So the hit and run charge is actually less than if he'd have been drunk.
Well, anytime a fatality is involved, yeah, of course, yeah. If they have evidence of him being in any way, shape, or form under the influence of any kind of banned substances, it would be much worse, no doubt about it.
And it did happen in the middle of the day, by the way. It was in the afternoon.
So we're talking obviously.
And, there again, I mean, the state police has the opportunity to do some investigation. They could try to interview people. We have things on our roads now where they could determine when cars pass there and where they've come from and where they're going. And a good investigator might be able to reconstruct where he was in the hours before this and who was there. And maybe some people saw things. I don't know. Maybe that will come out later. We don't know.
It's time to start betting on yourself. Louisiana 988 can help if you're dealing with tough emotions caused by gambling habits. You can share as much or as little as you want, and it's completely confidential. It's free, available 24/7, and most people who reach out report feeling better right in the moment. Call or text 988 anytime.
All right, finishing up here our conversation with legal analyst Tim Meche, a well-known lawyer in New Orleans, talking about the Kyren Lacy case. Todd, you had another question here for Tim.
Yeah, Tim, obviously we're consumed with and talking about the legal ramifications from a criminal angle, but just out of curiosity, what kind of civil repercussions does he face, and how does the criminal trial affect that?
He's responsible if he's found to be civilly negligent and that caused the death or injury of another. And when you kill somebody and you're sued civilly for their loss of life, the damages are significant. And I don't know what type of insurance he had. The insurance company would be on the hook for the limits of that policy, but chances are the damages, the jury or the judge may find that the damages are even greater than that, and he'd be personally liable for that, and that judgment doesn't go away until you pay it.
Okay. Well, Tim, on a quick sports note here, we got less than 30 seconds. What do you think of the Tigers and what they did in the transfer portal?
Who knows? I have no idea. I know they reported they've done well, but this transfer stuff, hey, it's a wild, wild west, isn't it?
Yes,
we don't know what's going to happen.
Yes, it is. Yeah. All right, Tim. Thanks a lot, man. We appreciate your insight as always.
Are you ready for the East Baton Rouge Parish Library in 2025? The library is ready for you. You'll have 3 opportunities to meet President Abraham Lincoln in January. The legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. will be presented at the Baker Branch. And if you've been researching your family's history, join us for the Genealogy Brown Bag Lunch. Find out more details about these programs and more at ebrpl.com.